Hi everyone that's signed on so far. Thanks so much for joining. I'll just wait a couple of minutes just for any last minute people are going to be joining us as well. So just sit tight and we'll get started very soon. Great to see everyone joining in from all different places. Singapore, hi Grace, Western Australia, Brisbane, Wellington, Melbourne, beautiful. Good old sunny Melbourne. Well, we're on the Gold Coast and funnily enough, today is not sunny at all. Hi Sharon from Dubbo. Hi Kate. All right. Hi Judy from Perth College. Thanks for joining. I'll pop on my screen so we can get started soon. I'll just give it one more minute, guys, and then we'll kick off. Thanks again for joining. It's great to see everyone jumping on and saying hi. We could just chat all day and say hi to everyone, I think. All right, let's get started. And if anybody does jump in at any stage, hopefully they can say hi and introduce themselves in the chat. The chat will be going all webinar, so feel free to keep going and ask any questions. And if you'd like to stay engaged in that as well, and if anybody else has any answers to the questions, this is a great opportunity. We're just here to facilitate, so feel free to go for it and use this opportunity to learn from each other as much as learning from the webinar itself. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to another Digistorm webinar. My name's Monica, and today we'll be talking about the future of admissions processes. So I'm live streaming today from my home as we continue to social distance, but many of you are probably starting to reintegrate slowly back into your offices. So thank you so much again for joining us from wherever you are today, and we really hope from everyone here at the Digistorm team that you're all safe and well, and keeping safe and well as we try and kind of move out of this, hopefully, and seeing that normality is close, getting closer at least. As I said, I am streaming from home, so bear with me as if there's any technical issues, I'm on my own. So, and also another side note, it is bin day here for me, which is just perfect timing. So there may just be a really nice loud truck pulling up beside my window at any stage during this webinar. So I apologize for any additional noise that you might face as well. But let's get stuck into it. So obviously we have had some serious challenges over the last kind of few months, some substantial and sudden change to many areas of our lives, both personally, I guess, and work related. So today, as I said, some normality is slowly getting closer, and we wanted to spend the next 30 or so minutes highlighting and recapping a few things, namely the challenges that we've faced during this pandemic, discuss our learnings as well from these adjustments and abrupt pivots that you and your admissions processes have had to do. And then going forward from here, how can we grow and build on these learnings by implementing elements, potentially even removing others that aren't serving the processes so well. We will then obviously finish off quickly with a short recap of what we've discussed. I'll also provide you with some great Digistorm resource options that you may find some handy, for further reading after the webinar. And don't fear, if you do need to duck off during the webinar at any point, feel free to do so. You will receive a follow-up email with the recording of the webinar, so you can just watch it back at any stage if you'd like to do that. So a little bit about us and why we are so passionate about this space and why we have some knowledge to share. We love facilitating all of these kind of discussions within the education space. So we are based on the normally sunny Gold Coast, but today I've actually got my light on at 11 a.m. in my study, so it's not so sunny today. But we've been working with schools since 2011, and we now partner with 500 plus K-12 schools both in Australia and internationally. And we are super proud to be recognised as leaders in the education software space with 40 plus great team members that we all love. And we've actually recently opened a new office in Denver, Colorado in the United States. So hi to anyone who is battling the time difference and joining from the US today. A little bit about myself. So my name's Monica. I'm the customer experience manager here at Digistorm, and I've had the pleasure of working with really closely with a number of schools in the implementation of our Digistorm systems. Then also with obviously training and the ongoing support that goes with hand in hand with introducing new software and changes at an organization. So hopefully I've seen some familiar faces joining today. So hi guys, great to see you joining, and I can't wait to hopefully get to some great conferences and get back face to face as soon as possible to see all of you very soon. Because I do love hearing about new challenges and ideas that you've got as well that any clients have. We like to work with you guys and find the right solutions to your challenges that you guys bring up or bring to us to hopefully try and assist and help kind of alleviate that as you go through. So let's get right into that today. So the first kind of area that we're going to quickly just discuss is obviously we have harped on this a little bit about the challenges that we have kind of all faced, but it's so large. It's probably going to go down in, well, not probably, but most likely going to go down as the biggest challenge many of us have actually faced and probably will ever experience during our professional lives. So we can't discount that at any stage. So I think during these times, it's actually really, really important to stop when we're just about to we can see that more normality coming in again at some level. We shouldn't really forget about those moments of adapting that you've all had to experience. And we have seen some amazing, innovative ways that you guys have adapted to these times. And you should be really, really proud in the way that you've quickly turned around and pivoted different processes that have definitely been part of your school's systems for a long time. And you were able to kind of be nice and nimble during this period to turn things around and innovate and come up with ways to kind of continue on as best that you could given the circumstances. So now you've done that and you've seen the challenges as well, it's a good time to kind of stop and reflect on what those challenges actually were. So it can kind of muddy the waters a little bit based on things that are impacting at a personal level, but also things in terms of the business of your school had experienced and what you had to overcome. So things like obviously there's the obvious ones, obviously the removal of physical interaction, both with school staff, your school community, the grounds, all of those things that you guys thrive on and really push and strive when you do great events at the school. We have spoken of this and the flow-on effects that these have caused in previous webinars, which are also recorded. So if you would like a copy of those, let us know and we can send those through. But we've spoken about the challenges of organising virtual meetings. That in itself is challenging when you're not used to using virtual software to host webinars and meetings and interviews and all those things. And then you have to then also try and educate and troubleshoot with parents that may not be so experienced using it as well. So a massive challenge in itself just to keep things going in that way and keeping the communication and engagement going in that way. You've also had to find a way to deliver that feeling, deliver the ethos of the school, deliver the values, the mission, all of those special things about your school without, again, them actually being able to physically come and meet the relevant people. So you still have to give that information and that feeling and provide that history of the school. You have to give them that information and keep them progressing through the admissions process without them physically visiting. So again, we've seen some awesome improvisations on how you've been achieving this. And, again, we'll talk about learnings in a minute. We're talking about challenges at the moment, but these things may be things that you will consider going forward that, hey, it really worked well for us. Why do we need to only do it during a time of crisis? It could be something that could really integrate into your processes ongoing and really help for people who are remote and moving to the area at a later stage. Whatever it may be, just keep an open mind and consider those things. Other challenges that we've discussed is staying relevant and compassionate during a time that your prospective parents and even existing parents, it's difficult, it's an unknown time, it's an unknown period, and you want to maintain the communication, but knowing what to say, when to say it, and how much outreach to kind of do during this period is really difficult to understand and navigate those waters. So that's a huge challenge as well. You would have understood, I guess, that, or you may have noticed that you weren't exactly front of mind during this period for a lot of prospective families. And we'll go through some inquiry numbers in a moment as well, but we weren't front of mind because the general kind of consensus that we were getting from kind of our school communities and clients was that they believed that their parents were in survival mode. So I guess the schooling for upcoming years was not exactly front of mind for them during this period. So again, trying to communicate compassionately during this time to a community that wasn't exactly focused on these topics and on you as a business at that particular period. So trying to navigate that is really difficult. And of course, the blaringly obvious and probably the most challenging of all is the fact that it's undeniable. Inquiry numbers, enrollment numbers, you would have seen a decrease of some level and some capacity. It's the bottom line, it's the hard numbers, and it's evidently showing the drops in the numbers. So how do you go about facing the other challenges that we've just mentioned, and then kind of using those to hopefully overcome this and in turn increase the numbers? So it's just the perfect storm really, that you guys have had to battle through over the last few months. The other side of obviously the decrease in numbers is, what does it look like if the numbers aren't going to increase for, you know, a substantial amount of time? What does it look like for you? The unknown in this area makes it really hard to set a benchmark and plan for, because you don't really have historical data on this particular, I guess, circumstance, because it's never really happened before. So you can't actually benchmark anywhere to be feeling confident or comfortable with a scenario and knowing a plan that has potentially worked in the past that you could draw upon and potentially see working again in this circumstance. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail going forward. But on numbers, I just wanted to quickly highlight, I guess, for us, it's really important that we keep on top of and understand what our schools are going through, and understanding where they're sitting, what the future is looking like for you guys, and if there's anything in our systems in particular that can help you. So we'd like to know what's going on. So there is absolutely, again, no denying that the inquiry and enrolment numbers are down at the moment. So I reviewed just 20, just a quick review of some of our client funnel and enroll accounts. For those of you who are joining us who aren't fully familiar with all of our Digistorm systems, that's absolutely fine. Our funnel is our CRM for schools, and online enroll is to capture application forms and process the enrollments all the way through via online platform. If you want any further details about that, you can reach out and we can certainly show you through the systems. But for those of you, obviously, lovely clients joining, I went through 20, as I said, just to compare the numbers. So I did a comparison between January to mid-May 2019 versus January to mid-May 2020. There was an obvious decrease. On average, it was about 30%. And for some schools, it was substantially higher than that in those numbers over those two periods. So again, this is something that you can find really simply in your funnel and enroll systems, but it's extremely important to know where you're sitting at the moment so you can plan and resource accordingly. You, your admissions team, have the data at hand. So if you've got it, then just use it. Don't be afraid of what you might find. Be prepared, but don't be afraid, because the unknown is definitely more scary than going in and having a look and seeing where you're actually sitting and being able to prepare and plan from there. So let's quickly touch on the learnings, and then we're going to talk about, finish up on implementing these learnings in particular. So it's some step-by-step things that you guys can run away with and hopefully review and implement yourselves. But first, what have we learned? So something to do at an individual level for you guys, because this will be different for everyone. So it's important, again, to stop and review at a time like this and see what you as a business have learned, and what you potentially in your role has learned, you and your department have learned. All of those things, you know, you shouldn't waste this period, because let's hope, pray and hope that we don't have to experience something like this again. But let's use the opportunity. Some prompts that may help you get started could be things like, were you able to identify some noise in your admissions process that have always existed and have just been dealt with? The classic, we've always just done it that way. There are often steps in a process that can be removed or at least done more efficiently. Maybe the change in your work environment and circumstance has highlighted some of these things for you, which is, it's awesome, it's great. Again, use the opportunity and review and remove or update. So don't just stop when this is all over and you're back at your same desk, sitting next to the same people, processing in the same way. Don't just go back to that way. Don't go back to the old habitual workflow if it was ineffective. Again, if you guys are fully across everything and you feel like the way that you're doing things now and have always done things is the best way forward, forget what I'm saying. But if you have noticed there are some noise in your processes or some inefficiencies, take the opportunity to stop and review and see what you can clean out. They've probably always been bugging you, so use this as a great kind of chance to get rid of them or at least improve them. Something that I'm obviously very passionate about is customer experience. It is key. So what gaps did you find potentially over this period? Again, you were in different circumstances, whether that be where you were actually sitting and located, or the fact that the numbers weren't there, you weren't getting as many inquiries. How did you use your time differently? But you would have also had different channels, I guess now, communication channels I'm referring to, both for internal communication and external communication. So you may have highlighted gaps in that communication channels that you've had to use because you hadn't had to use them before. So being able to kind of go through that process may have helped you streamline it a little bit more. It could be not only in the way that you're communicating and passing on information to your prospective families, but certainly how you're providing it internally. I like to think of all my internal co-workers as customers to me as well. So the way that I present information or provide training or guidance to my colleagues internally should be, a great customer experience from start to finish as well. So it's a good way as a department or as an individual role to think of your position in that way. So customer experience is key. I'm also guilty of this. When you get a little bit busy, your head's down, your bum is up in the air, you're working really hard, you often look past the questions that are commonly asked. You will have same questions coming through, and rather than just being like, yes, I get asked that all the time, and then proceeding on to provide the answer to the question that you get asked all the time, and kind of wasting your time a little bit, why don't you stop and review your content, having a look at the communication opportunities that you have with the prospective families, again, or it could be internal departments, and see where you can incorporate the answer to this question that is always coming up. Because obviously, if you're getting it all the time, it's not somewhere that's accessible, or it's not somewhere that is easily, understood. So my favorite thing is being proactive. So give the answer before they ask for it. Don't be reactive, because by the time they have to go looking for something or reach out to ask for it, you'll lose people during that period. So it's better just to give the answer straight away rather than making them come looking for it. There's a few more on potential learnings that you guys might agree with as well. Always looking inwards and outwards at your process. So obviously the context of your environment will fully impact your numbers. We've seen it happen through various things, but probably more so than this scenario that we're in right now. So you, especially as admissions and enrollments teams, you will have your finger on the pulse. You are frontline. You speak directly with prospective families. Use the information that you get. Don't assume that because you learn it and you hear it firsthand from parents that it's common knowledge, that everybody in your team at the school knows this information as well. They probably don't. So use it and present it back and be confident in the information that you're getting, because it's coming, dare I say it, directly from the horse's mouth. So use the information, it's accurate. Speaking of information, another favorite one of mine, obviously, is data being key and re-educating your senior leadership team with this information. Again, like you getting that, qualitative information directly from parents, the data that you have, you shouldn't take advantage of it and assume that, again, everybody knows it. You may see or recognize based on your previous experience that there's a drop in numbers. But sometimes you just kind of harping on it and saying it directly to your senior leadership team, it might not fully get across to them the severity of it, or how much needs to be kind of done and acted upon ASAP. So share this information with them. Don't be afraid to give it to the relevant parties that need to be aware of it at your school. You have the information. And as I said before, if you've got that information stored nice and centrally and it's automatically updated and streaming in, you'll know that it's accurate. You won't have to second guess it, and it's easy enough to generate the relevant reports when you know how to filter and export the information that you need. Lastly, for some people, again, we have lots of different people joining us today for our webinar, which is great. And some of you may not have your enrollment processes online, whether that's your enrollment inquiry forms, your event registrations, or your online application forms. You may not have them online yet. So if you don't, this may be a good opportunity to stop and think maybe it's time to bring them online. Especially during such a kind of stressful period, parents want things to be accessible. They want, if they are making the effort during a difficult period such as this, to think about applying for schools and think that far ahead. They don't want to have to go looking for a PDF document to download and have to print and complete and send back to the school. When they're thinking of this, they want to be able to complete that task straight away, tick it off, and think about other things. So just take a moment just to kind of reassess if you haven't got your processes online. Maybe it's a great time to do that, not only for the parent's experience, I should add, but also you will then have that data that I'm talking about, and it will be automated, accurate, and easy to access at the click of a button. Okay, I've harped on enough about learnings. Again, if you guys have any learnings yourself that I have not touched on, those ones were just prompts for things that you might agree with or have noticed yourself. If you've got any learnings of your own to share with the group, feel free to pop them in the chat. I'm sure everybody would love to see and compare and get some ideas triggered for themselves. So let's talk about implementation. So this may look a little bit similar to learnings, but I've chosen kind of the favorite ones out of the learnings to then kind of build on and talk about how do we actually implement changes and updates to our future admissions processes to build on those learnings. So you may want to stop, review, and update. Again, one of my favorite lines is being proactive and not reactive. So as I said during the learnings, it should be an iterative process where you notice those common questions, the common comments, people coming through different communication channels that maybe you wouldn't really think was the way that they should be coming in and contacting you. They're going through a general contact us form rather than going through an enrollment form on the website that goes directly to the enrollments teams. Things like that. If they're happening, you should use that information and stop and think, why are they happening? Maybe my enrollment form, my enrollment inquiry form isn't easy to access, and the easiest thing to do is go to the contact us form. But that hurts the process, and that can damage the brand itself by making that process long-winded rather than it going directly to a lovely kind of, I'm sure you've got a beautiful branded automated email response that goes off as soon as they complete the enrollment inquiry. Maybe the contact us form on the website is not so pretty and welcoming, I guess. So in saying that, you should again review where the information that they're getting is coming from. Make sure that the questions that they're asking you constantly are answered and clear. Make sure they're not fluffy. They don't have to be, long-winded. They just need to be answers directly to the questions that they commonly come up with. So it may be on your website, maybe just a nice section on your website. It could be frequently asked questions. It could be a beautiful process broken down so they know exactly step by step what to expect as part of the enrollment process at your school. It could be part of the email communication that you have with your prospective families. As I said, the automated email responses, or within Digistorm funnel, you may do some really nice email campaigns that go out to select different segments of your data at different times of the enrollment process, to invite them to events and things like that. Again, all you're doing is providing that information before they have to go searching for it or go asking for it. Now, you're probably saying, well, that all sounds great to do, and you're talking a lot about all these great things that sound good in theory, but how do I actually do that? Well, if you haven't done it, it may seem like a big task because you may have a lot of different touch points that the parents could potentially have with the school as part of the enrollment process. But you guys aren't the first ones to have to go through something like this. It's just general term is called customer journey mapping, and there are so many great free tools online. So you can just literally search in Google customer journey map, and you will get a few different guides and templates that you could utilize to start with. And that's a good framework. You'll see that there's certain sections of it that probably aren't so relevant to your process, but that's fine. Again, just use it as a framework and build on it. So all it will do is just give you the opportunity to document down your touch points, who they're kind of communicating with at what point in the process, and what information are they getting where. So once you can see it all in front of you, it's nice and easy then to go back and review and understand, hey, that's probably why they're going to the contact us form and not the enrollment inquiry form. Maybe we can review this and clean that up a little bit. Or why are they going to this particular person to answer this question when it's actually meant to be directed to this particular person at the school? So you can what you're trying to do again is funnel down the information, and you're giving the information to those prospective parents. You're giving the information when you want to give the information at the time in the process that makes sense for you to get it. For you to give that information to them. So again, just have a look at customer journey mapping and see if it's something that you guys would like to do and introduce at your school. Because then once you've actually done the whole review, I would suggest doing up a new customer journey map with the process that you actually improve and go ahead with. And don't get me wrong, it can be quite a large project because you may want to build out then, okay, I'm going to document down what the different kind of content is that we're going to provide at those times. But once you've done it, it's there, it's sitting there. And then as you go through, again, iterative process, maybe next year, you review the current customer journey map that you've just developed. And you can go through and streamline from there. You've done it once, you can just easily go and tweak and change as you go. One of the next items that you can look to implement at your school is again about data. So you, as enrollments teams, anybody who's joining us as an admissions team member, you have the data. If you don't, there's certain ways that you can get it and have access to it. So if you want to learn more about that, you can let us know and we can help. But you should be using it to re-educate, because again, not everybody knows everything that you have access to on a regular basis. But you have the figures and you have the historical data. If there are significant changes, you should have confidence in your data to inform those decision makers at the school, especially during times like these. Things have changed. So even from January to now, they've changed substantially. So the goals set before lockdowns and the restrictions have come in place, they're not going to be the same. They're not going to be achievable now in this kind of environment that we're in at the moment. So the goalposts need to have shifted, and you can use the data that you have to set where those goalposts should now be. And then from there, you'll see the impacts that those new kind of goals have are going to have on the rest of the school, and potentially for ongoing years as well, and trying to do some pre-planning for what that looks like. So as I mentioned before the webinar, I did a quick assessment of a few of our funnel and enroll clients and noticed that there was approximately on average a 30% decrease in inquiry and enrollment numbers. But so if you have your data stored centrally, you can easily get these calculations yourself. And if you're not sure how to do that, as I said, your client success manager will absolutely be able to help you. If you don't have a system that is able to do this for you or store this information centrally, it may be some time to consider kind of looking into that. But if you do have the data, you can look into it a little deeper. So I only viewed new inquiries and new enrollments during that period, but you might be interested in both new and existing inquiries who reached out during that time period. You might be interested in entry year, so how a certain entry year is impacted, or how a certain year level is going to be impacted, and what those numbers look like. If you have it stored, you have access to it. So it will be super helpful to know how you've been impacted thus far, and what your school is going to do about it from here on in. So you can keep an eye on the data as well. It's not like you're just comparing January to today. You may wait until the end of May and compare May 2020 with May 2019. And even better still, if you have data for May 2018 or whatever it is, absolutely compare it all and just see how you're sitting. You don't have to be scared of the unknown. Be prepared, as I said earlier, it's probably going to have a decrease, but knowing that and going in knowing that it's going to have a decrease, you're going to be prepared, and then coming out with the information that you need to kind of go forward. Lastly, on this data topic, don't focus on the numbers. Sorry, don't only focus on the numbers that aren't there. So yes, obviously, as I said, you should review and do your reassessing on the changes in your data and inquiry numbers and enrollment numbers. But spend some time also thinking about who you do have in your pipeline. They're really, really important. So you should get to know them and understand exactly how many you have in each stage and how you can encourage them to progress through. So again, kind of preaching a little bit to the enrollments, admissions, and marketing teams here. You guys are so great at your jobs. You know exactly the trigger points and movement through your process. So just continue to do that, but knowing exactly who and how many are in each pipeline will help you target those and move them through, hopefully. They're probably more important than obviously the numbers that aren't there, because you've got them. So let's focus on not only not losing them, because I'm sure you won't, you'll do a great job, but just helping them through and guiding them through during this difficult time, and continually reminding them why they initially inquired and why they were initially interested in your school, and keep them enthusiastic about this. Lastly, something to implement or potentially implement or think about implementing is being creative with your prospective family options. Again, we have seen some awesome innovative ways that people have updated their processes. It's super creative, with welcoming different people and different processes and different kind of outreach options to their prospective families. There's no reason for it to stop once you kind of go back to, I guess, normality. I don't know if there will be a complete normal as we've known it going forward, but you know, general normality should come around at some stage. So just know now that you've tested the waters, and for some of you, maybe it wasn't so successful, but I'm going to guess for a majority of you who did test the waters and do some creative thinking, that, you know, it was probably a great addition to your processes. So think about integrating that in and continuing it on. Take the opportunity to work with your other teams at your school and see what potential options there are. There's fee discounts, there's concessions, there's holding on fees for a little bit before then kind of starting them up. There's different options that maybe you didn't have to consider before, and parents don't know that they're options, but you should present them as options, because it may be something that's really just holding them back from that next step, but you just have to getting them in the door and helping them during this initial scary time. And then hopefully that will kind of continue on and build, and you've got them in. I'm sure you'll do a great job to maintain them and keep them going strong at your school. So again, just to reiterate, you have done some creative things. If they're sustainable, keep them in, review and keep them in your processes. If you have the flexibility, talk to your different finance teams and bursars, etc., to see what fee options you've got available to them that you could potentially offer. Being proactive again in this space is going to give you such positive feedback. You're being super helpful to those parents and families that are in really difficult circumstances, and I'm sure you've had some enlightening conversations with parents in these circumstances, and you'd probably know a whole lot more than I do about this in particular. So I'm going to leave that part to you, but I'm sure just to reiterate that don't be afraid now. You've tested the waters. Don't be afraid to keep pushing forward and implementing different things into your processes and cleaning out others that do not work or have not worked so well or could just simply be improved. Awesome. So just to recap on what we have discussed today, again, we've had some great engagement via the chat. We have quickly discussed the challenges that have been faced during this period. We went on and talked about the experience that has helped schools discover gaps in their processes and different things that you've learnt as part of the whole experience. Yeah, and then also different things that you can then implement. I only touched on a few. If you do want more information about some strategies and creative things that you could potentially use and introduce to your admissions processes, if there's anything system-wise that we could potentially help with while you go through and review this whole thing, whether it's customer journey mapping, that you'd like some more information and guidance on, your CSM or myself could certainly help you with that. So feel free to reach out at any stage and ask any questions. If you just want to know if you're going in the right direction or looking at the right kind of data to achieve what you're hoping to, because that's a really important element of it, knowing what you're actually trying to achieve and what information you're trying to get out of the system before diving in and trying to filter it is important. We can help you with all of those things. So again, we're here during these difficult times, and we'll be here ongoing to help and support as much as needed. So on that support note, we do have a great blog and a great marketing team, content creators who are super knowledgeable in the space, and we create resources. So if you are on our subscription list, you'll get some emails from the lovely Tara in the marketing department who create some great content. If you're not on that, let us know and we can add you to it. We've got some really great resources about this topic and all other things. Again, you'll have these links to the resources in the webinars and the follow-up email, so you can easily click on those and read some more about it. But that is it from me. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. I understand, again, many of you will be joining from different places, whether it's from home or now being reintegrated back into your office space. I hope the transition for you hasn't been too bad. I'm sure many of you are probably escaping from noisy kids at home. We made it through the webinar with no garbage truck in the background, which is great. Someone was looking out for us. But if you do have any questions at all, feel free to pop them in the chat. There is a little bit of maybe around a 20-second delay on when you type the comment and me seeing it. So if you have written it and waiting for me to react, just bear with me. I'm not frozen. It just takes a little bit of time to come through. But please feel free, if you'd rather just kind of generate a question, ask the question for anybody else to answer or to comment on, feel free to open the floor and put the question to the group. I'm sure everyone would love to help. Thanks, guys. You can see people signing off and saying thank you. Thanks for joining. So just as a prompt, I do have a couple of questions that we can go through if nobody else has any questions to submit via the chat. So one of those is, how do you think COVID-19 will impact customer experience moving forward? I think just to build on just to build on, I guess, the rest of the webinar in this space, but it is definitely, I think, has humanized the whole process. So people they're more understanding. It's kind of been a nice experience to be a part of, where when people are saying, how are you today, and I hope you're well, they actually really mean it, and it's just kind of softened everyone a little bit, because it is a really concerning time. So I believe that that's not going to be completely lost and taken out of customer experience when things do kind of start going back to your standard day to day. I think that there still will be that human element to customer experience that we have seen kind of sneak into it during this period. So, and I'm happy for that. I think that it's really important, and you guys do it super well as well at schools, giving that ear and support and counselling a lot of the times to those prospective parents who are toing and froing about potentially coming to your school or not. So I've got some good conversation going on the chat, which I'll just refer to now. So thanks, Alison. She's just put out the question to people. Are any of you doing virtual tours? And if you have, who have you used? So we know that a few people, quite a few clients have been doing virtual tours. And we do have another company that we know and love to work with as well, called UTour. So they're really helpful. They do a great job. But a lot of schools have also been opting to just do it in-house with GoPros, or just more of just any kind of camera device you've got, just being a bit more personal about the whole thing, whether it's led by the principal or another student at the school. Some people have been opting for that one. And Joe's also interested in knowing what other schools are doing for virtual tours. So maybe we can send out a few links for you guys and show you what some other schools have been doing for virtual tours in our follow-up to the webinar. So I'll send out I can send out some information directly about the U-Tours and the virtual tours as well. So you guys can have a look what other schools are doing and learn from them, and also some options about who actually does the filming if you need to know that as well. Good to see, Patricia. You'll be looking at Tara's resources. She does a great job. Kate also considering virtual tours, but nothing finalized yet. So looks as though it's on the cards for quite a few people. But again, being able to get to the school grounds to film it, finding the right person if you don't want to do it in-house can be difficult. But again, it's important just to have something up so you can get that information out there as soon as possible. So I guess maybe it won't be so perfect and cinematic as what you might hope for in the initial stages, but having something certainly showing and showcasing school grounds, introducing certain, I guess, stakeholders and important people from the school is important. Joe, I'll just answer your question here. Can data collected in Digistorm Online be uploaded directly to other admin platforms? So we do have some great integration partners that we work with. We can send you information on exactly who those are. So we do have direct integrations via API. So it goes directly from Digistorm Enroll into those certain school management systems. If they're not API, if they don't support that, then we do have a download XML file and upload directly into the school management system. But we can find out exactly who the school management system is, and I can let you know if we are able to integrate or if we currently do work with them. We're always looking at expanding our integration partners. So if it is someone that we don't currently work with, we'll certainly start the conversation and see what we can do there. Hi, Michelle. No worries, Alison. Thanks for joining. No worries, Joe. Great, guys. I think I might finish it off there. But again, we'll send you through some resources about U-Tours, show you some examples of what other schools have been doing, and some potential vendors that you could reach out to if you would like it done professionally. And then we'll also send you the follow-up email with relevant resources for you to do some further reading at your own leisure. And that is it for today. But thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation, and it's great to see everyone saying hi on here. If you would like to kind of continue the conversation in any way, just feel free to let us know, and we can put anyone in touch to have the conversations that need to go on. Oh, Tatiana, that's great. We've managed virtual tours, videos in-house, brief introduction video to the school and its programs, and then some footage of our school classrooms. That's great. So again, Tatiana's put in some great comments of what they've been able to do. They did it themselves. So it's potentially something that you can consider there if you're looking at that. Oh, hi, Nicola. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Ria. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Tatiana. Great to see you all on there. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, guys.